Hello, it's Tony from Ding, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Tools, where we look at key theories to guide learning design. In this episode, we're looking at something called the Group Development Model, which is a tool for designing effective teamwork and group work activities. It's characterised by its 4 key stages of forming, storming, norming and performing, and it was developed by an educational psychologist called Bruce Tuckman, who incidentally, his first names also happen to be Bruce Wayne, for any Batman fans out there. Teamwork and group work are powerful activities in learning design, and if we design them well, learners can often have a transformative experience as they develop strong emotional bonds with their teammates. But if we design them badly, we can create catastrophe, as learners often disagree, they'll fall out with their team members, and this can produce a bad experience and also risks them not completing the task and meeting the intended learning outcomes. So Tuckman's theory provides a really helpful insight into how we might reduce the risk of catastrophe when we're designing team tasks. So let's take a look at each stage in turn and then consider the implications for learning design. Alright, so the first stage is forming, and this is where team members first meet each other. So during the forming stage, each team member is trying to negotiate the values, the beliefs, the motivations of their teammates. And while some team members will feel excited, others might feel nervous or even resistant sometimes. So the advice for learning designers here is to develop an activity where team members discuss ground rules for the team and openly talk about their expectations for participation. And this can really reduce the risk of resentment later on. Then the second stage is storming. And during this stage, we sometimes see conflict because each team member will now have some understanding of the personalities of their teammates. And so more dominant characters can often become more assertive, and those who are a bit more placid or reserved might start defaulting or deferring to the more dominant characters. So learning designers can navigate this by really creating or using activities that make these dynamics really explicit and creating the opportunity to make sure each team member has the time to talk. So an example of this is something called the pass the ball activity, where each team member takes it in turn to hold a ball or a virtual ball or an object, and only the person holding the ball is allowed to speak. Then stage 3 is called norming, and by now team members should be starting to resolve conflicts by themselves. So if they've managed to use some of these tools in the first 2 stages, hopefully they'll start working as an effective team and be able to allocate tasks and cooperate a bit more effectively. So the learning designer's role here is to be observant really and attendant to any issues, but where possible to allow the team to work a bit more autonomously. And it can also be useful to design in things like team tutorials or check-in sessions, so team members know that they've got support if they need it. Now, if all goes well, the team will move into the 4th stage, which is performing. And by now, there should be a level of trust between team members and a sense of shared confidence in the team's ability to complete tasks and negotiate challenges. So as in the norming stage, the learning designer's role is really to remain in the background, providing support as needed, but allowing the team the time and space to resolve problems before stepping in. Now, Tuckman later added a 5th stage, which he called adjourning, and this is quite useful. This is the stage where the team disbands after completing the task that it set out to achieve. And the important thing here from a learning design perspective is to acknowledge this stage and design in a way for the team to celebrate its achievements. Now, this might not be appropriate for all teams, but for those teams who want to celebrate their successes, this adjourning stage can be a powerful moment where team members kind of really consolidate what they've learned through the team task. Okay, so to summarise, here's some quick tips for learning designers about how to use Tuckman's model to design effective team activities. So firstly, make sure you allow enough time for teams to discuss and set ground rules for dealing with conflicting values. This is really, really important because if you don't do this, the team may well collapse later on. Then create tasks that have clear accountability, and this might be a presentation, an exhibition, a video, or maybe a panel discussion, but a really good authentic task can really help to drive engagement from team members by harnessing and leveraging accountability. Next, if you can make resolving conflict one of your intended learning outcomes, that's a really good idea. It might sound a bit pedantic, but actually it forces team members to actively try and resolve issues and disagreements rather than just leaving them to fester, and it makes this part of the task rather than something that you hope will happen. And then finally, as I say, provide opportunities for teams to celebrate their successes, and you can do this both online and in person, depending on the nature of your team task. And it helps to create like a fun activity such as an online quiz or a game to help team members relax and realise what they've learned through their experience. Okay, that's it. So Tuckman's group development model is a useful thinking tool to guide learning designers in the development of teamwork activities. So if you found this useful, hit subscribe, tune into the next episode, and get some more thinking tools in your learning design toolbox.